if one of the African countries can say, hey, we are jumping in this thing, we are adopting Bitcoin as legal tender, that will make me feel really, really, really good, because I do believe we Africans, we really do need Bitcoin more than Elon Musk and more than a lot of countries, yeah.
From the new home of Bitcoin and all things blockchain, Peckham, South London, this is the Genesis Block Education Podcast, and I'm your host, Bitcoin by Malks. Welcome everybody for another episode of the Genesis Block Education Podcast. I hope everybody's well. I hope everybody's healthy. We are officially halfway through the year. Wow, this year's just gone so fast. It's ridiculous. What have I been up to? I haven't been up to much, actually. What I am doing, I am starting to get deeper into my understanding of the Lightning Network and running my own Bitcoin node. So I'm really spending time to understand the technical side of Bitcoin, which leaves you scratching your head at times, but it's a journey which I feel I need to go on to really call myself a Bitcoiner, I guess. So what's going on in news? The Bitcoin price went below 30k, which I thought was going to be the floor. It didn't stay below 30k for very long. Bitcoin is just in an accumulation, looks like it's in an accumulation pattern, and it could be here for a couple months. So, as I always say, this is a great time for you to spend time educating yourself and understanding what you actually invested your money in. All right, so big news. I think this week the biggest news definitely has to be the news coming out from China. We get news of a China ban literally every year. It's like clockwork, same time every year. But I think this year they've really stepped it up. There's been sort of videos and images of miners actually shutting down their mines in the, I can't remember what province it is, but there's a province where there is a lot of hydroelectric, not even the coal operated mines. They're actually going to the hydroelectric in the Sichuan province. I can't even say it, guys. I'm not even going to pretend. So yeah, it's really the Chinese, or the People's Republic of China, have really upped the ante on Bitcoin miners, and that's definitely had an effect on the Bitcoin price. There's a lot of school of thought on whether the Chinese ban on Bitcoin is going to be a net negative or a net positive for Bitcoin. If you haven't read anything from Nick Carter on this subject, I'll go out and do that. I definitely fit in his camp, and he sees it as a net positive for Bitcoin. Firstly, there's always been the claims thrown around that Bitcoin is not decentralized and it's quite controlled. Bitcoin mining specifically is controlled by China. The ban is ultimately going to result in Chinese miners moving to other countries, whether it's the US, whether it's Kazakhstan, whether it's Canada, or even El Salvador. Countries that really want to start investing in Bitcoin mining will tap into these resources, who are basically being kicked out for China. So I think it will be a long run a negative for the Chinese government. So other positives include reduced environmental concern, as the exodus of miners from China results in a reduction of Bitcoin mining operations, which are powered by coal. And the final positive I like to call out is the reduction in any chance of a state attack on Bitcoin. And it's always been thought that, obviously, with the majority of the mining operation being based in China, was a bit of a risk to the Bitcoin network infrastructure. So having a lot of the mining decentralized outside of China essentially takes that risk off the table. It seems to be all kicking off in China. I personally feel it's going to be a long-term positive for Bitcoin as a whole. Anyway, forget about China. Let's talk about the show today. Today's show is the Bitcoin Lady of Botswana. I have the honor of having Alakanani Itereleng. I love that name. Alakanani is known as the Bitcoin Lady, and she is the Bitcoin Lady. There's a lot of fake Bitcoin ladies about. The real deal. This is the real Bitcoin Lady. Alakanani is from Botswana, and she's been educating and in the Bitcoin space since 2012. She's a pioneer. She's a teacher, she's an educator, and she also heads up the Satoshi Centre, which is a Bitcoin education centre in Botswana. Check out the website bitcoinbymalks.com. The Bitcoin Basics course is now live on Udemy. And finally, like, share, comment. Over to you, Alakanani.
We finally done it. We have finally got Alakanani onto the podcast. How are you, Alakanani? How are you today?
I'm so fine. How are you?
No, we have to. Round of applause. We've been waiting to get you on for so long. We've been waiting to get you on.
Oh, no, my day is fine. I'm fine. And how are you?
I'm great. I'm really great. I'm really happy to finally get you onto this podcast. And what time is it in Botswana?
11:33.
Oh, 11:30. Okay, so you guys are just 1 hour ahead. So the reason why I wanted to get you onto this podcast is, I came across you in the Banking on Bitcoin documentary, which was a huge, huge eye-opener for me. As someone who lives in the West, in Europe, just really kind of opened my eyes to the adoption of Bitcoin across the globe. I've got so much to ask you. We've only got an hour, so we're going to try and move through the subjects as quickly as possible. To start off with, do you feel vindicated? When I asked that question, I mean, you got into Bitcoin so early. I think it was 2012. And it's really now we're at the point where it's been adopted by institutions, billionaires across the globe are using it, even countries. We'll talk about El Salvador a bit later on, but even countries are using it as approving it for legal tender. How does that feel?
Yeah, I think it feels quite good, but I'll be super excited if I'm seeing the same thing happening for African countries, if I can, if one of the African countries can say, hey, we are jumping in this thing, this is, we are adopting Bitcoin as legal tender, that will make me feel really, really, really good, because I do believe we Africans, we really do need Bitcoin more than the other, more than Elon Musk and more than a lot of countries. Yeah. So if we can have at least one.
I 100% agree with you. It's my personal view that if Bitcoin doesn't take off on the African continent, it has failed, in my opinion. And a lot of people, a lot of people will not look at it as that, because they only see it as to store their wealth over time. But for me, the biggest use for Bitcoin is Africa. If it doesn't take off on the African continent, it has failed. But I'm optimistic. So I want to understand your story. You are the Bitcoin lady. You are a pioneer, and from a Bitcoin perspective, you are a superstar. Can you tell me about the early days? How did you get into Bitcoin? What really opened your eyes to Bitcoin?
I think all the credit will go to my late son. He deserves the credit, because had it not been for him, I wouldn't have known Bitcoin. So I did get to know about Bitcoin in 2012, early 2012, I think, when I was trying to work online. I was a teacher by then. I was working as a teacher. So I wanted to raise a fund for my son. He was very sick. He had a complicated heart disease, and he needed to have a heart and lung transplant. Wow. So I was thinking I can go online and work online and make some money, and then take him to India. During that time, I was thinking of taking him to India, because that's the only place I had heard they can do a heart and lung transplant. So I went online. I'll spend like a lot of time at night doing some researches on the internet to try and see what I can do online. So I remember I came across this website. It was like a survey website, and they were saying you can work online and you can earn some Bitcoin. I don't remember if Bitcoin back then was $27 or something like that, or $17. It wasn't that high.
The reception's cutting out a bit, so let me just get that clear. So you said that you worked for the company and they did not pay you the Bitcoin that they promised?
No.
Wow.
It didn't. Yeah.
You never got paid by this company?
No. Wow. Yeah. So, and unfortunately, in April, my son passed away on the 12th of April in 2012. Yeah. So for the whole of 2012, I was going through this process of like trying to digest what has happened. How did my son get to die so quickly? I thought he died so quickly because one moment he was okay and the next day he was gone.
Wow.
So I spent a lot of that time like trying to digest. Then something happened to me in 2013, and I just felt like I had to go back to that thing that I learned. I came across, though I was not paid. There was something that like a seed that was sown in my head.
Rest in peace to your son. But he left you with the gift of Bitcoin. It feels as if he went and
He did, yeah. He did.
Really. In 2012, what was Bitcoin to you? What did you think it was?
At that moment, Bitcoin to me was an instrument I can use to raise funds for my son.
Right.
At that moment, it was an instrument for that at that moment. And then I let go of that. But somehow it was like something just happened to my head, like a seed was planted in my head, and I was like, okay, let me just go back to that thing that I came across because I've never heard of this thing. And I went back to it and I was just reading, trying to understand, what this thing actually is. And I did not understand it that much. I remember I did a video talking about Bitcoin, and the things that I was saying did not even make sense. But
I need to see that video. I have to see that.
I don't know if I did it in 2013. I think it's 2013 or 2014. So I did that video. It did not even make sense, but like I was like, I love this thing. I want to bring this thing to my country. I mean, it's the funniest video I've ever made.
I'm gonna find that. I will find that video.
Yeah. And then I called my friends. I think there were about 10 of my friends. I said, look, I've come across this thing called Bitcoin. I think it can help us. A lot of my friends were teachers. I said, I think you can work online. But then I still don't understand. I thought you can just work somewhere and then you can be given this Bitcoin thing. So I was like teaching them that. So in the process of trying to teach people about Bitcoin in 2013, I was learning now. I kept on understanding it a little bit. And then I did an interview, I think it was on Vice magazine. So I did an interview on Vice. That's when I told them that, I want to teach people about the thing that I have learned. I want to educate people about this thing that I have learned. So I was spending a lot of time trying to like read and understand Bitcoin and, at the same time, teach people about it. Sure. And I remember I did the first big meetup. It was sponsored by a company then called Coinversity. So they're the ones that like Coinversity, yeah. So they were like the first sponsor of the Botswanan meetup. So they sponsored my meetup, and I the first meetup, I think I had about 20 or 30 people, and people came to learn about Bitcoin. So in the process, I kept. Yeah.
Was that in Botswana?
Botswana, yeah, yes, okay. Yes. So then I kept on learning about Bitcoin. That's how the journey started. That's how the journey started.
In those early days, were you starting to be recognized by the external Bitcoin community?
I think the first person to like recognize me, if I remember, I was this guy, Marvin Jones. So he was like the person that I'll talk to, and he would like help me and all that. And in 2014, I think that's when the like recognition started. Mm-hmm. I remember I received an invite to Bitcoin 2014, which was a conference in Amsterdam. Yeah.
Wow, in 2014.
Yeah.
And the reason why I'm so overwhelmed is because obviously there's a huge Bitcoin conference in Miami that's just happened in 2021.
Yeah, I know. Yeah.
The growth of the industry in that time has been huge.
So, unless you've been hiding under a rock recently, you may have heard about this thing called Bitcoin. Bitcoin is everywhere at the moment, with people saying it's one of the most important inventions of the 21st century. If, like many people, you're still not sure or haven't got a clue what all the fuss is about or where to start on your learning journey, Genesis Block Education has the course for you. The Bitcoin Basics Beginners course is now available on Udemy. It's packed full of lectures, activities, and easy to follow resources which will give you the fundamental knowledge on what Bitcoin is, what makes it so valuable, and most importantly, how to obtain and secure it. If you want more information, please see the show notes or visit us at bitcoinbymalks.com, the Bitcoin Basics course. Without Bitcoin, there is no cryptocurrency.
In terms of your personal background, so would you say education is your background? What were you doing before you got into Bitcoin?
Education is my background. Like I started off as a teacher. Yes. So yeah.
And what kind of thing did you used to teach? What was your subject?
I was teaching religious education. Nothing to do with computers or anything.
Wow. Okay. That's quite interesting. So
yeah.
you didn't really have like a maths or engineering background?
Nope.
So other than Bitcoin, would you say Bitcoin was the thing that kind of triggered your passion for technology? And
no, I think I had that even when I was still an education teacher. I used to fool around with Microsoft Word. I know I could do a lot of things on Microsoft. So it was not only about typing for me, it was about a lot of things that I can do. I used to like do a lot of things with computers. I used to do birthday cards. I used to do a lot of things. I had a passion of IT, but I didn't do it at school. So the only time I go to like really get into computer is when I volunteered to teach computer awareness. So that's the only time like I was like really doing something that is technical. But with Bitcoin, I get to like learn a lot of stuff. Yeah, making me much more smarter, I think.
Tell us about the Satoshi Centre and your organization now and how that came about.
Okay. So as I was teaching people all this time, then I was thinking I needed a center where people can actually come and meet with me if they want questions.
Yeah.
Because as the Bitcoin was becoming known, so were a lot of scams coming in.
Right.
So I remember before I started Satoshi Centre, it was the first registration I did for Satoshi Centre was in 2014 October. That's when I registered it. During that time, I remember there was this thing called MMM. I don't remember how in the full name. It was something by Sergio Mavro, something like that. Yeah. So this person was like, people were like, what do we do? They were like telling people that they can put money into that thing called MMM, and they could make like a hell lot of money. So a lot of people in Botswana were like flocking to that thing. People were putting their money into that thing, they were believing that they will be able to like make money or change their life somehow magically through that. And then there came another thing again called OneCoin.
OneCoin.
There also came another thing called OneCoin. Yeah. Yes.
OneCoin.
So I was thinking if people needed to have a place where they can come and ask questions, if they wanted to know more about what is happening, so that I can like protect them a little bit, and so that those who will listen, I can at least hinder them from putting their money into something that will never work. So that is when Satoshi Centre was like born. So I started off and I was working at home, but people would still come to my house and I would be talking to them about, the Satoshi Centre. This is what I want to do. This is the vision I have about Satoshi Centre as a center of education, as a center where people can come and learn about Bitcoin, as a center where people can, venture into blockchain technology and all that. So that's how far we have come. But we really, it has been a struggle for so long. Yeah, it has been a struggle for us to like set ourselves up. But fortunately, last year, we had we were able to open like a big center now. Our center is like really big, and
right.
we have some blockchain companies, at the Satoshi Centre renting out our space. So that's how the Satoshi Centre was born. It was born out of a way of protecting the people from what I was seeing happening, and people not having the proper information about what Bitcoin is. Like still other people don't understand what Bitcoin is because it is clouded by a lot of scams. So because of that, people don't actually really understand what the potential of the Bitcoin and the blockchain technology. They don't have that because of, yeah.
So Africa is constantly under bombardment of these multi MLMs.
Yes, yes.
And that clouds the understanding of Bitcoin.
True.
Your center was a hub for people to come to understand what Bitcoin, what blockchain technology is, and start.
Yeah.
Are you still having those challenges in terms of, you know, confusion between multi-level?
It's still there. Like, I do believe even the governments are confused. You know, if they really understood what Bitcoin is, they wouldn't just say, no, we don't want Bitcoin. I think they don't understand. I mean, like, I still believe that even those in governments, even the bankers, whatever, they don't understand. You know, for them, it's multi-market, whatever, multi-level marketing thing. I mean, like, if you can sit down with somebody and you say, why do you hate Bitcoin so much? The things that they will tell you, you will see that, these people, they don't actually know what Bitcoin is. There's a confusion. The confusion is brought about by these people who will be bringing all this multi-level marketing. It's too much. You know, it's you know, and those people will make sure that they block you from giving people actual information.
Right.
You know, they will make sure that. I remember in the very beginning, there used to be this thing called Bit Club. It's called Bit Club.
Okay.
So what will happen is, if I advertise my Bitcoin meetup at the center, they will advertise theirs.
Wow. So
it was always like that. And people will be like, no, we are going to there where we can make a lot of money or something. But now, BitClub is no more. It has disappeared with their monies. So the confusion is still there. We still need, like I always tell people, if we are aiming for adoption, we need to have more educators out there.
Yes.
Because there is no how we can have adoption if education is not, like, it doesn't reach people. Because people don't have the proper information. We need to, like, if it's investment, invest in education somehow. Let's educate people so that they can actually know, because they don't know. There's confusion. You know, we need to educate the people. Yeah, I think that's my stand. The confusion is there.
So when you're educating people, what are the key principles that you try to focus on?
Yeah, what Bitcoin is about, the potential. What would happen if one day we wake up in the morning, our pula is going to Zimbabwe, like to what has happened in Zimbabwe? What will happen to us? You know, we must have some kind of something that we can store the value of our money. You know, we give example, in the past, you know, we used to buy bread, 5 pula will buy you bread. Now it can't buy you anything except sweets.
Yeah.
Yes. And then again, with Bitcoin, you know, looking at the amount of Bitcoin we have in total, you know, we know that Bitcoin is going to keep on appreciating one day. There might be volatility now. It might be like going this and that. But as soon as, like, you know, we have a lot of adoption, we know Bitcoin is going to higher values. But with our pula, we are not sure. And Africa is, you know, is known for instability. And most of our leaders, I don't know if they're corrupt or something is happening. I don't even know what makes them do whatever that they do. You know, it's like they don't have the interest of the people at heart. So you have to have something that, you know, you are sure of the future of your children, the future of your grandchildren, the future of your children's children, you know, if there's something like that, generations and generations. Yes. So with Bitcoin, you are sure that your generation is safe, your future generation is safe. So, but with our currencies, we are not sure. Look at what is happening. You know, it goes deep. I know it goes deeper into politics. We cannot go into politics.
No. You know, listen, wait. We can talk. I love to talk, especially on the African continent. And in my head, Botswana is probably one of the most stable African countries. For now. Idea for now. So you know, if you have any insight, I mean, what is it like in Botswana? What is it like actually living in Botswana for a normal person?
No, we are comfortable. I would say we are comfortable in the sense that we haven't been taught to say, you know, something bad might happen to us. Yes. No, yes. Even when we are unhappy, we don't show that we are unhappy. I think we are very timid people. I would say Botswana are very timid. Like right now, you can see what is happening. A lot of unemployment that is happening here. You know, a lot of stories of corruptions that are happening here. Yeah. And the red alert will say right now we've been listed. You know, under this money laundering, whatever thing, as terrorist funding, whatever. We are listed.
Botswana?
Yeah.
Why?
Botswana, you have to check it out.
Okay.
So you see, things like this will have to make someone to say, hey, I have to wake up somehow. Yeah. Things might not be what they seem. So, but because Botswana, they're like,
Botswana people are chilled out. They're very chilled out. I know a few people.
Chilled out.
They're not like Nigerians. Nigerians are too much fire in their belly. But
that's why we'll say, we are stable. Sometimes I will always say the things that are written on paper are not what are happening on the ground.
Right. Okay.
So we have to always, it's easy for someone who is just reading and say, hey, no, Botswana is cool. But what about the people that are suffering? What about the children who are graduating from school and then there's no employment? And there's been going on for so long. There was a time that even the graduates, they went on a strike, and they were beaten. They had to go back home. They were beaten by the police and they went back home. Right. So you see, there are things that are happening on the ground that somebody out there might not know. So people cry for the payments are poor. They're not being paid nicely. But Botswana are very chilled people, relaxed people. So that's why if something can happen to Botswana, something like what happened in Zimbabwe or Venezuela was to happen in Botswana, I'm always afraid of how our people will live, because we are not ready. We are not ready.
How about the youth of Botswana? How are they taken to sort of like these technological advancements with Bitcoin, cryptocurrencies? Is there an uptake of this by the youth, or?
Yeah, we used to have, like, now because of Corona, we don't have a lot of university students coming to us. We used to have a lot of university students coming to us. I remember we even had a group, the Steemit group, where, Steemit, they used to allow people to like put stories and they'll be earning some few dollars and all that. There are those who are doing freelancing, there are those who are doing some stuff online and earning Bitcoins. We still have youth who are like that. But there are those who are still, they have still been led to this multi-level marketing things, because when people are desperate, they tend to go for something that it promises them quick back. So most of them, they just run to that, There are those who are interested in building, like, there's a group that was formed, I think that was a few days back. It's called FinTech Botswana. So they're trying to, get into the financial technology market and all that. So we see a little bit, we've seen young people coming up. Maybe in the next coming year or two, we'll see a lot of changes happening. But for now, I don't know. We'll see how this will go.
And just with the Satoshi Centre, what are the major challenges that you face? Is it mostly cost or infrastructure or funding?
Yeah, in the beginning, the biggest challenge for me was getting the financing to run the center.
Right.
Because in my head, I wanted to bring all those things that are to do with Bitcoin. Like, number one, I wanted to do, when you walk into Satoshi Centre, you'll find the white paper on the wall, like, printed there on the wall.
Yeah.
I was able to do that this year. I did that. When you get into the center, you see the Bitcoin white paper there on the wall. And one of the things that I wanted to do was like to have like some kind of like a museum kind of on the corner where you're going to find all this Bitcoin mining, the alias, how people were mining with the computers, and you see the alias miners. I wanted to bring all those things to Botswana and people can come and see this is how this thing has been happening. So for me to be able to bring those things into Botswana, it's kind of hard, and I don't even know where I can find them. Those old, mining rigs and whatnot. Yes. Yes. So I wanted to like bring those things. I wanted to give people a feel of where the technology has been coming from. I still want to do that, but I'll see maybe in the future when I've got enough proper funding to run the center. Yes. So the biggest challenge was that, but I was able to get that support. With Play Better has been giving me the support. Kubu has been giving the support. Kubu Coin, yes, and now they are my partners. Kubu Coin are my partner, and we have Pexfall giving me the support.
Actually, yeah, fantastic.
Yeah, so it's getting a little bit better, and I had Stacy Herbert and Max Kiza, sometimes doing.
Stacy and Max.
Yeah.
You've got big friends. You've got big friends in this community. See, that's what I'm saying. You are a pioneer. You are known within the community, and
but
getting recognition for the hard work that you're putting in, which is fantastic.
But we still have a long way to go, though. If I can be able to give people a feel of what this thing is, just them see the miners. Now they're seeing the white people when they get into the center, but I need them to see more. I want them to see that this thing is real. It's not a bubble. It's not a fly-by-night thing. It's a technology that is developing. Look at how it started. Look at what is happening now. It was Bitcoin, then now we've got a lot of technologies that are coming up because of Bitcoin. Bitcoin is like the king, like the king of the jungle, and everybody now is like coming and say, okay, we can be able to do this, we can be able to do this. So you can see the development that are happening. They all started with Bitcoin. So I want to take people through that to say this is where it all began. We see these people, the miners, they were verifying transactions. This is what happens. Now we are able to build these solutions. We are able to build smart contracts. We are able to build DeFi. All this started only because of this. So this is like what, this is what I want. I'm still dreaming.
That's the end of part 1 of this podcast. Part 2 will be released next week. Now, if you'd like to get in contact with Alakanani Itereleng and the Satoshi Centre, please check out the show notes. As per usual, check out our website, bitcoinbymarks.com, as well as our Bitcoin Basics course, which is now live on Udemy. As always, like, share, comment, and we'll see you next week for part 2. This is Genesis Block Education Podcast. I'm Bitcoin by Marks. Tell your friends about me.